Hello, and welcome back to yet another retro channel. Today we have back on the bench the Sinclair ZX Spectrum 48K, and we have it so that I can demonstrate a different software loading mechanism. Before I get to that, I want to mention this. I thought I would go ahead and get a separate power supply for the Spectrum rather than just running it off my bench supply as I have been doing. So I ordered a 9-volt, 2-amp center negative barrel jack power adapter for it. 9-volt DC. Don't do it. Unless you can find a really high quality one, this one is kind of crap. And I say that because what happens is the power that it provides is not very clean at all. It's full of what I'm sure is switching noise. And as a result, it introduces a lot of interference into the video signal. So you don't want to try one of these. If you can get a hold of a linear regulated power supply, that would be the best. Otherwise, you might want to think about building one yourself or getting a power supply that is meant for the Spectrum. So I'm going to stick with using my bench supply for now. What I have here for you to look at today is called the DivMMC Future. There are different versions of the DivMMC out there, but this is the one that I located, and it's a nice little package. It's a small cartridge that plugs into the expansion slot on the back of the ZX Spectrum and gives you SD card storage for your Spectrum. It also provides a joystick port. This will take a standard Atari or Commodore joystick, and it's a Kempston interface. So if you're playing games and they offer you the Kempston interface, that's the one you want to choose. There is a different kind of joystick for the Spectrum, a Sinclair joystick. It has a different pinout. Those will not work with this. But you have the joystick port, you have your SD card. This is an SD card that I ordered with the device. I got this from the Future Was 8-bit, so you can go and find it there. It's a little pricey, I'll admit, but it does a good job of giving you storage for your machine, plus giving you the joystick port that the Sinclair Spectrum is missing. So you load your software onto the SD card, put it in. It's one of the nice spring slots, so that's very good. And then you load it. Like I said, you connect it to the expansion port on the Spectrum. If you can get it to slide in right. Come on. The connector is keyed, so you can't put it in the wrong way. But it sometimes seems to fight me a little bit. Getting lined up just right. There we go. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and connect the joystick because we'll be loading some games on here. Now, the DivMMC has 2 buttons on it. The top button here, you'll notice when we start the machine up, this will light up. That is the menu button. That's the menu, or the button you push to get into the file menu. The bottom button is a reset, so this gives you reset capability as well. When we load this up, we're going to see it load into ESX-DOS. I'm not sure what the EXS stands for, but it will load EXS-DOS. You'll see it show a black screen for a moment, loading ESX-DOS, and then it'll go to the regular Sinclair Spectrum start screen. So I'm going to go ahead and power on. Now you didn't see the black screen there, and that's because my RetroTink didn't recognize the signal quickly enough. And I'm not sure the RetroTink is in the proper mode. We'll see if we load a game, if we get color, or if we go to the menu, we should get some color. So like I said, you hit the menu button, and the menu is in color, so we're good. Now, this is the file structure on the card that's provided by the Future. Was 8-bit. They do offer also, if you don't want to buy the card from them, you can use one of your own, and they offer this as a download. So you can download this file structure and put it on your own card. And then we use the arrow keys. I think it would have been nice if they'd actually programmed it so that it used 5, 6, 7, and 8 rather than the arrows themselves, because then you have to hold the shift caps key down to use the arrows. But they left a directory on here called ZX Spectrum. You hit enter, and it'll go into that directory, and you'll see here I have a bunch of files already stored. Now, you'll notice I've got two different kinds of files here, .tap and .z80. The DivMMC supports .tap, .z80, .scr, .sna, .trd, and .basic files. Now, I know that tap is a virtual cassette image, and .z80 and at least .sna are snapshots. This works a bit like the Dandanator in that it's not storing, for instance, disk images. These are snapshots of a running system, snapshots of the memory and register configuration in a system running a game. So these load very quickly. Also, though, the tape images here load very quickly. Now, much like we saw with the TZXDuino, the tape images, you can load them directly here from the menu. So if I were to select the Airwolf tape image and just hit enter, it will load Airwolf, and it'll do it very quickly, much more quickly than it would if you're using something like the TZXDuino to play back the audio and load it into the system. This will load almost instantaneously. And there you go. That is loaded from the tape image, just like you would have from a real cassette tape or from an emulator like the TZXDuino or the SBI CAS or something like that, or if you were even to load it from one of your devices like your phone or your tablet. We can go back into the menu, and now I'll show you one of the Z80 images. And here's Atari Soft Pac-Man. It didn't recognize the joystick. So you can load your games directly with this device, just like you would with something like the Dandanator. There is, however, another option for tape images. We'll go back up here to the main directory, and then I will reset back into the regular Sinclair screen. EXS-DOS offers a few commands that you can use to work with the DivMMC directly in the Sinclair basic interface. And those are prefaced by a period. So for instance, I can go period ls, enter, and that's showing me a directory of what's on the card at the current directory position. So if I were in the ZX Spectrum directory, it would show me the directory of those files. Now, to move into a different directory, we are going to use the cd command, and we're going to give it the directory name we want to move into. Now, the EXS-DOS interface into the Spectrum only shows or only works with 8.3 file names. So you'll see the ZX Spectrum directory up there, and it shows ZX Spec -1. That's what we have to move into. So we're going to do CD ZXSPEC tilde or tilde. You to get that, it's under the A. I'm just learning to use this keyboard, so forgive me. But you hit both modifiers at the same time, both the symbol shift and the caps shift. You hit them simultaneously, and then you use either of them and hit the key you want. So there I got the tilde, and it was tilde1. I hit enter, and it'll say OK. So now if I do the .ls and enter, we see the files that are in the ZX Spectrum directory. And the reason this is useful, one of the reasons this is useful, is because you can load your software this way as well. What you have to do is tell it which tape file. This doesn't work with the snapshots. It only works with the tape files. So you have to tell it which tape file you want to use. And I will pick Manic Miner. So what I want to do is, again, one of the dot commands, .tapein space, and then the file name, which was manicmin.tap. Okay, so that has loaded the Manic Miner tape image as if it were on a cassette deck or in a device like the TZXDuino, and then we treat it just like it was a tape drive. So I go to load, quote, quote, and it should load Manic Miner. Guess I don't want to touch that. There you go. Okay, and the other reason that it's important that you have this interface is that you can actually, unlike the TZXDuino, you can actually save your programs to this device. So if you're writing a program for the Spectrum in BASIC, you can there's our program, a little typical hello world program that everybody writes. And if I run it, okay, it works. Now, if I want to save it to the DivMMC, what I have to do is tell it what tape file to save it to. So first, let's make sure. Yeah, we're still in the Spectrum directory. So we're going to use another of the dot commands, which is .tapeout and space, and then give it a name for the .tap file. So we'll call this one TEST2 because I've already got a test on there. .tap. Okay. And now we just save as we would if we had an actual cassette deck. Let's call this HELLO and hit enter. It'll ask to start the tape and press any key since we don't have to start the tape. And there we got an OK result. So we should be able to go .ls and we should see a test2.tap file in here. Roll yes. There we have test2.tap. So if we want to load, well, first we need to new out. So let's go new, and that will erase our program. We'll make sure of that by doing a list. Nothing in the buffer. So now we need to do another tape in, and this time we're going to use test2.tap. That's okay. And then we do a load just as we would any other program. Program hello, it found it. So let's do a list. And there's our program, which should run just as before. There we go. So you have the ability to load snapshots, you have the ability to load tape files, virtual tape files, and you have the ability to save virtual tape files. Also, as I said, we have the joystick, so let me find a game that actually uses the joystick. Which one did I see that recognized the joystick? Oh, I remember. This one does. Here is Star Wars. I'm going to use the game audio because you wouldn't be able to hear me over the music, and there is, I don't believe, any actual sounds in the game itself. So you see the menu here, and we have Kempston as an option. So I will pick Kempston and then continue. And you'll notice that I can now use my joystick to control. Not very well, but I can control it. I will say this. It's not the best version of Star Wars I've ever seen, but it does actually work faster than the Commodore 64 version that I've seen, which actually surprised me that this performs better than the Commodore 64. And there you go. So that's all the functions of the DivMMC. You've got snapshot loading, tape image saving, and the joystick adapter. And that'll do it for this episode. So if you've enjoyed this episode, please give it a thumbs up. I'd appreciate that. It really helps out the channel, helps out the YouTube algorithm to share this with more people. If you haven't already, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel and click that little bell so that you get notified when I post new videos. Comment below. That also helps the channel and the algorithm, and I love interacting with you folks, so I'd appreciate it if you'd leave some comments. Share this out to your social media. Let your friends know about it if you think they might be interested. Speaking of friends, don't forget to go over to my friends in the YouTube Retro Repairers group. Those are Captain Commodore Lee, Joseph Retrobits, Joseph, Steve from 8-Bit Retro Refix, Neil from Retro4U, and Peter from 8-Bits in the Basement. Their channels will be linked in the description below as well. Thank you to my patrons. Their names are flashing up on the screen. If you want to become a patron or want to simply donate to me, there are links for both Patreon and Ko-Fi in the description below. I think that'll do it. So, everybody enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll be seeing you in the next video. Thank you.